Hello again, ladies and gents. Welcome back to the AJ Roberts Show. And today we are joined by none other than Jennifer Arcuri, all the way from the United States of America. Jennifer, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. It's a real pleasure to have you on. And we've been talking for some time, and I've been following your stuff keenly on like Twitter and things like that. And been very interested, especially to do with the financial things and your expertise in certain areas like that. But for the benefit of the viewers and listeners who don't really know much about you, would you mind describing like what you do and what you've been up to?
Sure. I'm a tech entrepreneur, and I started 10 years or so ago in London and was part of building out the tech city. I focused my event series about bringing all the different demands and needs and, modus of operandi within the tech community, within the corporate and private hemisphere, with the public and the government. So I ran a series of events, and then I ran a security event at BAFTA, which ultimately made me very interested into focusing into the underbelly of the cyber skills that the UK has. And I became very much an advocate in the cyber skills agenda and how, we could interoperate with younger kids and bringing them into a professional industry that needed those skills. So that's where House came from. I still am a co-founder, and we run Hacker House training. However, given the series of events in the last 2 years and my life completely changing on some crazy global stage, I have been, wrestling and working and researching day in and day out around where this, ultimate collapse of the economy is happening and where we're transitioning into. So I'm actually really keen now to build something more in blockchain for the Web3. I've been calling it a bank, but it might be a credit union. It's kind of like a thing of the future. But, I'm anticipating where we're going. I see it exactly. And so have built a community on Telegram that we do weekly calls. We share a lot of your stuff, in fact. And we're educating, for those who are interested and want to know and get, ahead of the game in this blockchain space, how to enter it with no fear and how to understand how the internet's designed now and how the internet will work in this new future we're going to. And it will help put to bed a lot of the misnomers around this, the forking of the CBDCs, the biometric, all that creepy stuff that's not going to happen. But it is in the headlines right now.
Well,
So,
I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the headlines, isn't there, that is sending people's minds off in like all different directions. Whether it's like health, war, whatever it may be, is everything's being made to be quite confusing, isn't it? So I can understand why so many people are just like, I don't even know where to start. It's easier to not learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing this now every day. There's another crazy headline, and so people don't know what to believe, which is why the work you're doing is so important, because just having honest conversations, it seems like a thing of the past. I mean, everybody needs a damn link. I mean, they're just so preoccupied with verified and and with good reason, right? It's not that I'm dismissing that there's not, a run of misinformation, but we tend to forget, like knowing the bigger plan of what's happening and then seeing it on a micro level and then freaking out because we see some, headline and then, I'm like, guys, keep it in perspective here. A lot of this is being put in front of us to show us what we would be going into, where we all were headed. But this, this great awakening, the idea of the people claiming back their power, this is happening. And it's not some conspiracy off of some cute, Reddit chat or some bizarre Instagram. This is happening because the people are demanding it, right? 100%. And the people up and they're saying, hell no, what's that about? Absolutely not. So this is what I think, is the most exciting part about where we are in life and where we're moving to. So I found a little piece within the financial play because I was working in financial services and security and the crossover with the banks. And, I hate banks. And so I just, I openly welcomed any solution to not only bypass, but, build around and provide better services. Because I've always been in Tech City, in London, in the the dirt and the grime of, of shortage, on the ground, saying, look, building a business today is in a free market, a true free market, is actually built with an ability and an onus and an obligation to give back, to make the world a better place. If you're not making, doing business that is actually helping people, go home.
Yeah.
That time, I mean, really.
Yeah. I think, that you talk about like the awakening and stuff like that. And I think that the very people who are awakening are very much on that side of the fence where they're not interested anymore in people who are in things for themselves. I think the whole part of this process is like community, driving forward as one, and unity, really coming together and stuff like that, which is what I've seen on a grand scale I've never seen before in my life. Even from a military perspective, you come from an area where camaraderie and stuff like that's like paramount, so but then seeing it on this scale, I'm seeing it now, in every country around the world, like fighting back against like what is an evil agenda on people in so many different avenues. It's it's just, you could literally do a 20-hour podcast on like just every single element of like what's trying to be driven on us from an evil perspective. It's great to see that happening, but at the same time, it's like, move over if you're in it for yourself, and so all the stuff you're doing is, doing great things and educating people. So from a crypto standpoint, obviously it's on the tip of a lot of people's tongues. A lot of people just have no idea, again, don't understand it, so don't get involved. But it is very much going to be part of the future. And you talk about the transition into a new system, for the average everyday person who like uses the pound, the dollar, and other currencies around the world, what in summary, what would your like new transition look like? I know it's not something that could just happen overnight, because you're talking billions of people that use currency.
Sure. And it's been happening for the last year. I mean, some of us have been watching the tokenization of the derivatives market back in October last year, 2020. So like this has been going on for quite some time, this anticipation of a flip of the switch into a new finance. I mean, it's only in the last few months, that I feel like people are really getting it. I published a piece last May, lockdowns are not about a virus, and it went viral. People resonated with it because they knew something was off. But the idea that, this is the perfect guise in which to shut down an economy, print it so that all currencies everywhere are allocated a bunch of STR, special drawing rights, from the IMF. Remember, the IMF does not print any product. It just basically gets the right to print everybody else's currencies, which thus debases global currencies. I mean, that was a huge red flag for me. And then we see them handing it out like, candy. And then each local government, so I mean like UK, US, everybody's printing their own for their countrywide, handing out, furlough.
Yeah,
like for basic income, and you start seeing this and you're like, wait a minute, I've read this somewhere, I've seen this was in that creepy conspiracy website. Oh wait, that was in the book Klaus Schwab wrote last summer, right? Like, why aren't people connecting the dots here? And so then when I started, I really then got very equally concerned when I thought, oh my God, are we investing in the WEF system? Like, are we just, moving from one petrodollar currency into another global currency that's just like stapled on top, right? Like some crypto just pulled out of a hat. And you're like, oh my gosh, now we're going to move into now this makes sense. So you see, and then it's happening in real time, even though you're seeing it, 6 months, a year ahead of it, right? But then it dawned on me, and this is the best example that I can give. We're already in the creepy surveillance state system, okay? No one's going to agree with me on this, but I'm going to have to say it on your show and stand by it. I've been saying it a little bit, but I want everyone to understand. Hear me out, and then we can talk about it. But we are already in that enslavement system. This Ponzi fiat debt-based criminal Federal Reserve fractional banking system is that system, folks. All right. And the biometric pass that you're so fearful of, it already exists. They just didn't roll it out and use it quite yet, but they have noticed how when things get really bad, you know, some truckers they don't like, some rhetoric, some, you know, third-party application like GoFundMe doesn't allow such a cause to be, you know what I mean? Like this is already happening. So then we look at something like the internet, for example, how it's designed. This application layer on top of this current Web 2.0 internet is the hemorrhage here. This is where when you go to a website, your information's tracked, your apps allow you, they can look at your, you know, where's your location, listen to the microphone. Don't think they don't, they do. Whatever terms of service, no one's there holding the account, you know, or up to this point. So we are already in the system that rapes and pillages your data, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In Web 3, where we are moving, the internet of value, often called the internet of things, we are building on blockchain in the browser. So in this new internet, and this is what we have to understand, you know, because this is not some creepy, we're not taking this old system with us, attacking all the creepy biometric patents on top and then calling it a day, yay, China credit score. No, no, America will, no, UK will fight back. We're moving to a brand new internet. One where it will not be run on servers and internet. It's going to be run through satellites and communicated through space. So packets, we're called you've heard the term sending packets into space or packetizing the internet. So you're basically packets into the internet. So this is basic protocol for a two-way handshake. What we see with the, you know, TCP, you know, the basics of every kind of internet programming. This is where it's.
Sorry, just on the satellite side of things, who owns the satellites or who runs them?
So this is where I think there'll be a new, maybe this is where Space Force comes in. There'll be a new coalition that, you know, but they won't be any internet. It'll be like free internet. So this is, there'll be, I mean, I've even read about free energy and understanding how those patents work. You might have to pay like or whatever to keep
using Tesla free energy, like the original, like originally invented.
Yeah, exactly. So we know the patents are there. We know it's, so this satellite system will be how we run it. So no one's going to be turning off your internet because your internet won't run through the way it's normally run. And no one's going to be tracking you on websites. Why? Because you will hold your keys. Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, when we look at the blockchain internet, so what's big right now in blockchain and, well, lots of things. Okay, well, I'll just tell you, NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So what the hell does that mean? Some turtle with wings? Who cares about another bird ape, right? Come on, you know, you've heard about it. It's kind of weird. Not everyone's into it, and I get it. Do not assume by any means the incipient stage of this industry, where we are starting, is going to be, you know, like anyone cares about your virtual plot or your ape with wings. No one cares. What this is representing and exercising and conditioning everyone to understand is how certain files, whatever they look like, can be embedded inside a wallet, your wallet, where you hold the keys, and be recognized within the browser. So for example, Brave browser, you can connect your Uphold account and be paid completely. You're watching at free, no ads, but be paid for what you consume, you watch, where you go, what you browse, right? Because you're giving them the data to, you know, when you're going there, you're exchanging, you're getting paid, and the data is then exchanged, right? So you hold the permissions in the browser for where you go, what you do, and what you see. This is the ID system we're going toward. This is what's going to happen, folks. Not the creepy Klaus Schwab version. Tell them to pack up and go home. Enough already. We are moving into a permission where you own it. It's the internet of value. You decide and you are paid for it. It's going to be badass. So when you think about where you're going and what you're viewing, and you know how companies now are going to recognize a little bit of code, a file in your digital wallet, let's take a step back. when we remember apps. Remember the integration of apps, early day apps? They were clunky, right? They were like a thing you had to download. Now they're the thing you have to download to pay your bill, the thing you have to download to update your subscription, the thing you download for better better browsing experience or exclusive retail, you know what I mean? Held in the apps became a thing, an extra thing of the internet that then became a functional utility part of the internet, right? This is how I want people to look at the digital wallets we hold, the Zoom wallets, the Exodus, all these Uphold even, these kind of extraneous wallets that are like the thing you buy crypto on, or eventually the verified global ID can become the thing that you decide which information through the NFTs you hold you want to share with which browser at which point. I hope I'm making sense because it's a lot to take on. Did I lose you?
No. I mean, and for anybody that like might be completely lost, because this whole crypto and even the talk of this new technology is like massive and new to some people, I think the best thing they could do is subscribe to and join your Telegram channel.
Yeah, we're trying to put out, Vicky and I are working, we do like weekly calls, and we're trying to kind of break down some of this stuff because look, if not everybody's clicking with what I'm saying, it's okay. It's a lot. And I'm trying to, not speak into impeccable meticulous detail to take up all the time, but just to kind of give you guys an like this is something that actually, when we roll out a new system on these various blockchains that will be connected through an interledger protocol, it's not just another layer of currency. It's not just like another credit card payment or, you log on your app, that is your digital currency. You don't know if that's actually held in your bank account. Why? Because you're a depositor at that bank. The bank gets to decide what to do with that money. They might tell you there through the front end of what you see through your app. But where we're moving is pegs every dollar. Every dollar is accountable through a metal. So that metal is tracked on the blockchain. Now, before people freak out, you have no idea how cash is laundered. If you're going to freak out about an RFID number or a tag on the new cash. The new cash apparently is going to be blue, not green, but it will be trackable. And no one's going to care what you spend at your garage sale or what you paid your babysitter or your gardener. But they are going to care with a bunch of money that's being laundered like it is today. Because keep in mind, the new system we're going to will be tracked and traced and pegged to a hard asset. Therefore, it's never inflated away, never manipulated, never laundered, all these things that are already in the system we are in.
When you say metals, would you be talking about gold and silver?
Yes, and I've heard, palladium, I've heard copper, I've heard, platinum, if you're interested in those things. I've heard uranium is another great, for those that love, paper and stocks and want to get into ETFs. I mean, I don't do the ETFs. I do physical gold, physical silver, and ISO accredited coins and Shibu for fun.
Yeah, same. So in terms of the accredited coins that you mentioned, I mean, looking forward to the future, I mean, there's a lot of talk about XRP, Ripple having a big play, in the field, like worldwide, and in its use, whereas up till now, it's kind of been just a thing and a commodity, but people didn't or haven't seen the future of it. Do you still stand by that and say that like XRP is very much going to be a big part of like moving forward?
100%. It's not if, when. Yeah. Absolutely it is. And it's not a WEF coin. Of course the WEF would throw their weight into this. Are you kidding? It's sustainable, it's fast, it's cheap, it's brilliant, especially when you get Microsoft funding hand over fist, creepy patents that integrate with your left toenail. Sure. But true. We're not going to keep it. People are done. We're done accepting your creepy surveillance system. So as a result, we're going to move in the blockchain because it is the best system. I mean, and it's going to save millions of dollars a day in payments. I mean, this is just stupid garbage legacy tech that we've been using, left insecure on purpose. So when we transition to this new system, these crazy extra digital wallets that hold your NFTs and other weird things, now these become your gateway. This is where you become your own bank. If you choose to bank with a NatWest, Lloyd's, any one of these, household names that we know, sure. go ahead. They'll still be around, maybe they're not all extinct, but if they're, or JP Morgan, God rest their soul, because they're probably not going to make it through silver squeeze. That's my joke. All right, JP Morgan, relax. But the point is that, the whole business of banking is going to flip on its head when you reward those, or you give access to these guys of holding a private keys. And maybe where you bank offers you a service, should you lose your private keys, like a safety deposit box and insurance. There'll be all kinds of little things that pop up in and around this space, financial products, instruments, new, things that the banks will offer. Maybe they do more invest in savings. I mean, there'll be tons of ways to make money, pooling and minting on smart contracts with your digital assets. This is why, you buy things now, Shiba Inu, Metaverse, Matic. I mean, you want to have a fun, play with trading, and you buy some of these ISO credited XRP, XDC, XLM, but you never sell the XRP ever. You never sell it, because this is the ultimate collateral to borrow against, use. This is your liquidity, your passive residual income for life. So buy the other stuff to make a bit of bucks. But your XRP will be your income that you'll be able to borrow. I mean, this is how I see it. And that's why I'm looking into how to kind of aggregate us XRP holders that knew from the beginning. No, that see this plan and say, right, let's put our money together and let's start funding things that matter to us. Healing centers, urban gardens, new educational book, whatever it is. Because we took a punt at 70 cents or 17 cents or wherever people bought in, knowing this was going to be the future. And now our 100 XRP are worth loads. And we can actually, make money on that and give back at the same time. And there's no creepy middleman in between.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, for a lot of people, I think a big change is quite scary to millions of people. And I think if the change comes at the same time they're being fed the information about what's really gone on over the last couple of years, trying to and then add up the whole, a whole financial system change as well. You're going to have people like brains are going to be fried, and then when they find out about history, we won't even go there just yet. But it's going to be a very turmoil time for a lot of people. If people want to just explore what would be, I guess, the QFS or quantum financial service system, where's the best place to find the information on that? Because it's not something you can Google, because obviously Google are very much controlled. Where would be the best place for people to start learning a bit about it, or just dipping their toes in the water?
I mean, there's really great YouTubers, I've sent their channels, and some friends and family are like, I don't understand it. So if you're already kind of in this space, there's really great people in the XRP community. I mean, James Rule, digital asset investor, Bradley Kimes, these guys are all over XRP. I mean, these guys, they got it. And some of the work that Jeremy Logan's doing, John Deaton, I mean, it's just phenomenal, leading and innovating on what we're seeing with this SEC XRP, case right now. I mean, it's gonna be this gateway, this path changer. I mean, it's just paving the way for how crypto is going to be regulated, viewed upon. So there's a lot of great people in this space, but even though some people, might get it, it's still, there's a little bit that, they need to kind of wrap their heads around. So I would say just get inside some of these Telegram channels, made up of people like you and I that have just, some people invest whatever, $100 here, 100, as they get paid. Some people have just thrown everything, just people that have done this themselves, that are learning how to use the ledgers and the wallets, so that you feel like you are learning with a community. Because the best way, when we were doing Tech City stuff, some of the stuff because I remember so many, in their 50s had to make a whole change into, tech and social media. And it was a learning curve. I mean, all the big guys paid big bucks to have all the, consultants in to teach social media. And so there will be tons that, like I said, lots of spin-offs and opportunity for educational, and all the, bells and whistles on this. For right now, it comes down to Telegram. We're watching it start to take over mainstream media, especially with the SEC and the XRP lawsuit. But no one's on media. I mean, I'm so blessed that I was allowed to even say what I could to Neil Oliver a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
No one's talking about it on mainstream media.
No.
Rise.
Yeah. And touching on mainstream media, obviously, you talked about laundering and stuff like that. And, there's a lot of people, especially in the UK, are like, very much bought into this whole narrative that Ukraine are, this the country full of like golden people that are suddenly being persecuted, when we know it's extremely far from the truth. And lots of massive amount of money and other things have been laundered through that country. It's almost been used as a puppet, and well, it is being used as a puppet right now, because the deep state having all their assets frozen from within Ukraine by Russia. And you've got to look at all the countries as well that started to refuse to use the petrodollar, for oils and stuff like that, like Iraq, Libya, and look what happened to their leaders. And you can see what's happening in Ukraine right now, and it's like corruption on another level. Do you think what we're seeing right now is desperation from the deep state members and WEF and stuff like that, because they're just trying to claw back as much money as they can, because it's all been frozen within Ukraine?
I mean, I'm not privy to all the little details there, like whether they're, but basically everybody's been given a script, and this is what they are. It comes down to the Ukraine. I mean, this is where it's all come to a head. I asked about it specifically on a Patriot channel the other day on the Sacred Blue Tent. And that, the response was, well, look at Ukraine and all the biolabs. I mean, now we've come back to one place. My heart breaks for the people of Ukraine, not, because of any political agenda, but because there's a lot of innocent people that are being, and Russia. I mean, a lot of people are being lied to, and a lot of people in the crosshairs there. This is never okay, ever okay. It's not one side or the other. It's all of them. This is not okay. And if Putin is finally saying enough's enough, pulling out of NATO and making it clear, I mean, we'll see. But ultimately, at the end of this, I do not see this with a globalist in the lead taking wind and everybody lining up. Do you see how angry people are? We are done. I mean, there's millions of us. They can censor us all day long, and they can call quack, conspiracy freak. I don't care. We are past that. Good. Arguments because you disagree with them, get over yourself. I mean, no matter how much you're paid, people are still finding out the truth. So this is where I think the ultimate truth battle comes down to war and the World War III we're in. And, the dismantling of a very staunch mafia of trafficking, laundering, and all kinds of nefarious things, all kinds of creepy skeletons, almost tied to like literally every politician. Any surprise there?
No.
I mean,
it's a crazy world, and we are literally living in a movie. And people talk about World War III and stuff like that, but what a lot of people don't know, and some people have missed, is that there's been a war going on for at least the last 2 years, which has involved the good guys actually rescuing lots of kids all around the world, doing good things, and actually slowly chipping away at these bad entities, which unfortunately are made up primarily of like our two countries. You could go as far as saying the governments running them and the associates for many, many years have actually been the biggest terrorist organizations in the world because of what they've actually committed worldwide. The illegal wars, the impact the CIA has, and the control it has over so many other places, and the things it basically instigates. While we're all, led to believe, or what they want us to believe is that like the East is always the devil. So even in the military, everything you do, like the big exercises, it's all like Russia's the enemy, the East is the enemy. So, it's just like drummed into you, the messaging, where in fact, so you don't pay any attention to the fact NATO's just ridiculously crept so close to the Russian border via Ukraine when they promised they wouldn't. And then 15 years after Putin saying, seriously, stop it. They've now got to the point where they poke the bear, you know, and rightly so. You mentioned like a lot of these politicians, and they are all over the world. I think for me personally in the UK, you know, having seen how Boris Johnson was at the 2012 Olympics, and, you know, how British and patriotic he was, and, you know, he even brought a book out, you know, about the Churchill factor and all this kind of amazing stuff. It's literally like as soon as the whole pandemic started, you know, obviously he was doing a job as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, but then it started to become very apparent like where the control lie, and he did unfortunately start looking like a puppet. He wasn't the same person. You know, 2012. I mean, none of us are really the same person for 2012. But what I mean is, it's like it's not that same person who was driving the, you know, the whole British thing forward in uniting countries, and even to do with Brexit. And I ask you these questions because obviously you're a very close friend of us for many years when you're here in the UK. From a personal level, and I know you touched on it on GB News, that would you say it's like sad to see the person you knew, like, or still know, going from that person who was driving the Olympics forward and Brexit and stuff like that to literally being a puppet, being driven by some kind of secondary parliament?
A little over a year ago, probably a year and a half ago, someone that was very close with him as well, super close, she said it, how'd she say it? She referred to him as the late Boris Johnson. And I've used that since, because I almost felt like she was speaking to me in code. But I didn't say anything. It was like I knew exactly what she said. And then later she said, it's as if we're grieving someone who's died. I mean, he's still there, but he's not there. That's not him. And I was like, what a perfect way of saying this, because the late Boris Johnson is exactly how I would describe it. What's rumored to be going on through the private whispers of Downing Street, etc. And mark my words, I still get the updates. I mean, it's amazing how I am fed this information. So those listening on who try to like keep it out, I mean, the truth is coming out, like it or not. So, I mean, it doesn't match the narrative that was presented. A few months back, someone contacted me because they were trying to make me believe that somehow Boris was still a white hat. I was like, okay, I'm willing to listen. Let's go. Never mind the executive orders, but let's go. Never mind what I've seen, what I've known. I mean, I said on ITV when the scandal came out, I know your secrets. What are you doing? So when this was approached to me, I said, all right, I'll listen to you. And then what he was saying was just drivel. I just shut him down within 30 seconds. I was like, listen, I have got a very tight schedule. I do not have time to listen to this. And I'll tell you now, there's something up with those kids. Something's up with this little family, considering this woman was never pregnant twice, who's flying in their third trimester to some G Italian thing and then giving birth conveniently 3 weeks later. I mean, the whole narrative reeks of falsehood, deception, as the English love to say. And when I said it to this guy, you know what he said? He beat. I shut him up. Ready? And then he says, well, you know, this happens quite often in politics. I'm sure you're aware of the Obama family. And I went, yeah, I am very aware. We're all aware. We've watched it, horrified for years. I'm very aware of what you're saying, sir, and this is disgusting. You know, when I was with this man didn't want to get married and settle down and have a family again. Why? Because he's already done it. He had a wife, 4 beautiful children. It was bizarre to say this, but you know, I've been in that home. I saw those family photos. It was a turning point for me, but that was where I was at. I mean, I was very close to this man. I know where his head was at. And starting down as daddy was never on the priority list. Something happened there. Something happened with that row when we heard the injunction of, the audio equipment that was leaked by a best friend that never made it to the news. Suddenly the shit shag became the woman that was absolutely ending up in Downing Street. People are going to freak when they hear this interview, because I'm just so done of, holding back. But let's ask the questions. What the hell happened there? Yeah. Why people at the palace call me the night leaving the palace, telling me this man is not the same. It's like he can't even finish his sentence without this woman around. What the hell? What the hell's going on? This isn't Boris. I said, yeah, welcome to my world. What the hell is going on? So this is what I knew from day one. I just couldn't believe how they targeted me. Like, who cares about me at this point? I mean, one of the lobbyists told me straight up, Jennifer, you're ancient history. I was like, thank God. Because my higher self knew this was going to end nasty. But, this man that I knew, this is not the man that is in power at all. And I'm not going to try to explain that at this point. This is for those that know the details, the verified proofs, that have the links. I don't. All I know is the people that know on the inside. So I have testimony. You can either choose to listen to me or call me a quack. It doesn't matter. But this is, this is what I'm speaking as I know it, as I see it. I lived it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I think I can speak on behalf of probably millions of people who paid real close attention. And, when you come out of isolation and having COVID, didn't even look like the same person. Me and the guys that, colleagues of mine who, some who have, done a lot of research on this, and it doesn't even look like the same person. I saw it on TV the other day and I was like, that's not him.
We share a friend, this Marine.
Yeah.
And when I heard him too, I was like, okay, thank you. Because I'm not pretending to have any training in this.
Yeah.
Like, every time I say this on my channel, I said, guys, listen to me and hear me well. I don't know all the world leaders, believe it or not. No, I mean, like, I wasn't, this isn't what I was there for. I didn't go to Tory party conference looking for my husband, not interested. I was very much engaged with the politics and how it pertained to tech. And I was obsessed with building a business, and he knew that. And for those reasons, and for every reason, I was very close to him and I got to see it. So I knew one world leader, and I never even believed that, when he took over, he'd become this world leader. In fact, I told him specifically, you are not to suck when you become this world leader. Don't become that which you hate, because we had just spent an hour and a half talking about everything wrong with everything he has now become. This is why at some point someone has to say what happened, and don't say unprecedented times. No, unprecedented. It was written about years before, patented 5 years before the fact, and leaked, like with staged footage. I mean, there's just so many discrepancies to this. And that's when I feel like, so many of, like I've said, the people from the past have come to me and they've been like, isn't it weird? Yeah, it's weird. And we connect and we share stories. I'm not sharing those private stories because those are not for me to share. All I can say is based on what I, have experienced. I also think something still needs to be found, discussed as to what happened with that Bank of England meeting where the asset purchase finance, facility arm branch of Bank of England met with the UK government, and the entire UK government was financed differently, restructured, repackaged. Is that the end of the corporation as we know it? Was that when the UK ceased to be, and now we're under the globalist handouts? Perhaps that means everybody in charge or everybody that went along with that is complicit. That means, we handed over our power to people that were never elected, run by a government that no one actually even knew about. And so they allowed the person in office that was easy to control, easy to be able to blackmail, communicate, whatever. And if he wasn't playing by the rules, then they had to, switch him out, possess him, MK Ultra, what the hell? I don't know. I don't have a link, guys. I can just say that someone, and that's not him.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people that have done a lot of digging and a lot of studying. He's not the only person who's come out from having COVID and looks quite different. I think, again, we're going to see all this come out, I reckon, like definitely this year, I believe. And I think it's going to be turmoil times, like when it comes to the sheer mass of people coming to terms of like, what's happened. And all I plan to do is just be there to help as many people as possible, and that's what all of us are about. We keep trying to tell people that this isn't a massive game of I told you so in our eyes. It's literally like all we've ever done is say we know the information, you can't see it, we're just trying to help you see it, because we don't want you or your children to ever be harmed. That's all it's ever been. So we both had our fair share of trolling and haters and all the rest of it, but it doesn't matter whether on your side of the pond or my side of the pond, the people we're associated with, all we've ever tried to do, isn't it, it's just like literally just to help people. And I think moving forward, that's like what we're going to have to do as well. These globalists have dug their own graves, really, and it's being exposed on a grand scale, like what's happening in the Ukraine. And I believe Putin is part of that, help exposing what's going on, whilst taking out key members of what is probably the biggest problem in the world, the child trafficking, sex trafficking rings. And I don't think, again, it's going to be long before more and more people find out about that. I know you're on a tight schedule, Jennifer. I just wanted to thank you for coming on and sharing all that amazing information with us today, especially about the financial system. Where's the best place for people to find you moving forward so that they can, buff up on that financial intellect?
Well, we're going to try to get a course out, but we do weekly calls, and we have 4 different channels that they're accessible through the main Jennifer Arcuri channel on Telegram. More than likely, I'll probably get a website out when I'm launched, whatever this crypto bank credit union digital wallet thing that we're working on. I'm worried, but essentially I want it to be like our community, growing together and investing and doing things that we decide, because we're 10 steps ahead of the game, and that's kind of where I'm at. So I use the channel to educate people. I speak to people like yourself who are making a difference. I just want everybody to know that, like, if being some kind of media whore like mattered to me, like I would have done all the reality shows they offered, except for I was never going to comply. Never. So I just, now doing these with people like yourself, for me, are just because I was handed a crazy platform in the most bizarre, time of our lives. And I have an obligation to speak, like you do, to get this out to as many people who will listen, whether you agree or disagree or don't want to believe. At least you hear, at least your subconscious is being led somewhere to find other answers. And I would encourage anybody who's on the borderline there to keep looking. You don't have to take my word for it, or AJ or anybody else, but you need to keep searching, because what truth is out there is never going to be found on that television. And some of the stuff that we're speaking about really does require a kind of transcendence of the intellect, the subconscious, being free to allow your spirit to kind of resonate and pick up on the energy. And when you're already picking that up, you already know that something's off. So honor that. Yeah. Keep digging, finding truth. And thank you so much, AJ, for today, to be able to speak and make these crazy statements like I have. I hope it doesn't come back to haunt me, but at the same time, damn, it feels good to just say it. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of having a podcast, because you can say what you want and police it yourself. And then it's up to the powers that be if they take it down within a couple of hours, like they tend to do with using certain keywords. But we're here to spread the love as well as the message, right? Guys and girls, thank you very much for joining us again for another fantastic and informative episode of the AJ Roberts Show. Please look after yourself, and I will be back very, very soon for another episode. Until then, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye.